This week, before we do anything else about acting, I'm going to look at the big, fat elephant in the room. Will 2020 be the end of live theatre? You're listening to Acting for Community Theatre, a little show with big ideas, stories, acting tips, and a lot of heart for community theatre artists. I'm Barbra French. Is this the end of live theatre? I say no. Theatre is not dead. It will be back. And maybe it won't completely leave at all. In fact, I can pretty much guarantee that it will keep going, but let's take a look at why I think it won't die. First, let's take a look at bans and censorship throughout history. Theatre has endured censorship and outright bans by both the church and the state many times over the centuries. Sometimes 4 centuries. Did you know that the church banned theatre from the fall of the Roman Empire until about 1200 AD? Or that Britain didn't actually stop officially censoring its theatre until 1968? Crazy, right? But theatre has always survived. One reason, and it's a big one, is because human beings have always needed storytellers. It's how we learn, grow, and share our culture and our very humanity. Since ancient shamans told tales of the great hunt around a fire, we have always loved stories and all those who tell them. Stories are how history and life's lessons and philosophy were handed down through generations. They teach us who we are and who we can strive to be. They fill us with hope and with courage, sometimes with sorrow or fear, or with pride and with love. Nothing can move us to tears or laughter or action like a good story told by a good storyteller. And another reason that I think theatre will be back is because artists will always be the ones to speak out. We just can't help ourselves. Playwrights and singers, poets, dancers, actors, directors, we all have a deep-seated need to speak out in our respective mediums. Artists have always been there to expose corruption and encourage critical thought, to shine a light on society's problems, to offer hope and inspiration during hard times, and to share innovative ideas and creative and maybe controversial solutions. And also, if we look throughout history, whenever there is great societal change and upheaval, it is always accompanied by explosions of artistic expression and new movements in all forms of art. The 20th century, for instance, is full of new movements in art and theatre, all on the heels of World War, depression, and sweeping technological advancements. Like when radio and film threatened to usurp theatre and its very popular touring groups in the early 20th century. And this gave rise to the Little Theatre movement, which brought more intimacy and community to local stages everywhere. And theatre will be back, because whenever there is strife and hardship, that is when we need theatre more than ever. Because we need those stories, and we need that exposing of corruption, and we need those new, possibly controversial ideas, and we need, more than anything, the sense of coming together. The sense of community, because we are social pack animals and we need to touch, to smell, to have direct physical human contact. These are things you just can't get from a screen. We need to come together to share things that are happening right here, right now, to all of us in this moment. That is why when you see somebody watching a concert on video, they often will say something like, "Oh, I wish I'd been there." It's simply written into our DNA to physically create and share this human experience together. Theatre is the epitome of voluntary artistic co-creation, and that is why audiences and artists love it so very much. And when there is a need for these stories and experiences by the audience on the one hand, and a desire to fulfill that need by artists on the other, you've got all the magic required for theatre to live and breathe again. And that brings me to my earlier comment that perhaps theater might not completely leave at all. Anytime theater has been banned or repressed, like during those 700 years of the Dark Ages that I mentioned earlier, it has always survived underground. There were surely bards and traveling troupes all over Europe during that time, quietly performing, and there is no reason to think that this won't happen again. Young artists, some fresh from their theater degrees, will be eager to create art. Playwrights have a treasure trove of new material to write about today. Actors and directors will have a burning desire to speak out about what's going on. And audiences will have a great need for truth and for hope. For all those who are healthy and who voluntarily agree to get together to share their stories, a way will be found. In private homes, in storerooms, in warehouses, in barns, and in studios. Theater will undoubtedly thrive, maybe in small ways, under the radar, as it always has, despite being banned or outlawed or censored. It's in our natures to get together as a community and share our hopes, our fears, and our dreams. And someday, when the more mainstream houses open again, and they will, in some fashion at least, we'll need to be ready. Ready to create, ready to share, ready to shine. Our job now is to prepare for those openings. And next week, I'll start talking about how we can do that, how we can all prepare to be better theater artists so that we can really shine for our audience. Until then, please give this a like, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, write me a review, and share it around. And until next week, I'm Barbra French. Thanks for listening. There were surely bards trooping. Take 12.